Hello everyone, welcome back to another video of Q Programming. Today we'll be discussing the sample question paper for Class 12 Computer Science Term 1. Now this is an entirely MCQ based paper. The maximum marks you can get in this paper are 35 and you have 1.5 hours to attempt it, meaning 90 minutes. Now this paper is divided into three parts, section A, B and C. So I will be making three separate videos for all three parts, and in this video we'll be discussing the questions of section A. So let's get to it. And remember to read these instructions carefully because this paper does offer internal choice, meaning out of the first 25 questions of section A, you have to attempt any 20. Out of the 24 questions of section B, you again have to attempt any 20. And out of the 6 questions in section C, you have to attempt any 5. So keep in mind that this paper offers a lot of internal choice. So if you're not too sure about questions, you have the liberty to leave them. But I will be discussing all of the questions because that's a discussion. We aren't actually attempting the paper. Alright, question number 1. Find the invalid identifier from the following. Right? So we can know that pass is a reserved keyword, so it can't really be used as an identifier. So it must be that. Name, address, these two are not even reserved keywords, and none, you might think in your mind that none is a reserved keyword, but that has to have a capital N. Remember that. Otherwise, it is not. This is fine. So it is option D, pass. Now, question 2. Consider the declaration 1, string Python, string 3.14. What will be the data type of L? Now, by default, you should know this, that whenever you write a variable equals to, and then you write three separate things which are separated by commas, that variable itself will now hold a tuple. This becomes a tuple on its own. So that should be option B. Question number 3. Given an object 1 with these elements in a tuple, what will be the output of print object 1 3 to 7 in steps of 2? So first let's give it the index values which start from 0, remember that. And now we have to slice this tuple. So it goes from 3, 0, 1, 2, 3 over here, goes all the way till 7, but in steps of 2, remember that. This last one is meaning steps of 2. So then we will go to 5, but we will not go to 7 because remember the last one is actually not considered. So just indexes 3 and 5 will be printed. So according to me, the output should be a tuple containing 40 and 60, which is option D. Question 4. Which of the following statements is not correct? A. If when we try to read a text file that does not exist, an error occurs. This is correct. This is very true. If we try to read a text file that does not exist, the file gets created. That is false. The file does not get created in read mode. It only gets created in append and write mode if it does not exist. So that's option B. But let's look at the other two options as well. If we try to write on a text file that does not exist, no error occurs. That is true, because if it does not exist, the file just gets created, which is what option D is saying. So that is why we are left with option B. Question number 5. Which of the following options can be used to read the first line of a text file, myfile.txt? Alright. So first we have to open it in read mode, remember that. And after that, and remember the default mode for opening a file is read. So if you write open myfile.txt, the default mode is read. You can change it to write or append by manually writing it, but you don't have to write this. So all 4 of these are technically opening in read mode, remember that. Alright. And if you want to read one line, you just have to use the command read line, right? Which is what option C is. Read lines will return a list of all the lines, which is not what we want. We just want the first line because that's what the question is asking. And if we look at this is going to just read the first character. And this is, by the way, an invalid command. So it must be option C. Alright? Question 6. Assume that the position of the file pointer in the beginning of the third line in a text file. Which of the following options can be used to read the remaining lines? Now, if the file pointer is already at the third point, all you have to do is read it and read the remaining lines, just the rest of them. Alright? And since it wants us to read the lines, we are going to use the command read lines, and this is just going to read from wherever the file pointer is. That's how the read lines command works. From wherever the pointer is till the end of the file, it will read all the lines and put them in a list. Alright, question 7. A text file student.txt is stored in a storage device. Identify the correct option out of the following to open the file in read mode. So as I just told you, the read mode is by default the default way of opening a file. So R is in any case correct, and so is this. So 3 and 4 are the correct options, which is option C. Okay. Question 8. The return type of the input function, you should know this, it's a string, because whenever you want to suppose input an integer, you have to put the int function around it, right? So it is string. Question 9. Which of the following operators cannot be used with string data type? This is used for concatenation, so yes, it is used. This is used as a membership operator, so obviously this can be used. This is for repeated concatenation, can be used. The division operator is not really used in strings, so that is the correct answer. Question 10. Given an object, which is object 1, which is a tuple, identify the statement which will result in an error. Print object 1 second element? No, it will just print 25, that's fine. Object 1 2 equals 20, this is an indication that you're trying to change the value. This will result in an error because tuples are immutable data types. Remember that. Alright, so that would mean that option B would result in an error, because if it's immutable, you can't really change its value. Remember that. And the minimum, this would just return the minimum value, that's fine. And the length will just return 4, that's how many elements there are, that's also fine. Okay, so remember, you cannot change the values of a tuple the way you do in a list. So it is B. 11. Which of the following statements is incorrect in the context of binary files? Information stored in the same format in which the information is held in the memory. That is true. If you have a list, it is stored the same way. Right? No end-of-line character transition takes place. Also true, it's just all the objects are stored together. Whatever list, dictionary, string, tuple, whatever you want to store in the binary file, they all are just stored together. Every line ends with a new line character. No, that is not true. So this is option C. 11 would be C. And D, the pickle module is used for reading and writing. Also correct. So all A, B, and D all are correct, but C is wrong. So that makes option C the correct answer. What is the significance of the tell method? It does not tell the path of the file. We know that it just tells where the file pointer is inside the file, right? So it should be option B, right? It just tells the current position of the file pointer. It does not do any of these other things. Question 13. Which of the following statements is true? Pickling creates an object from sequence of bytes. No, it does the opposite. Pickling is used for object serialization. Yes, that is true. So it is option B. It is not deserialization, and it's not used to manage all types of files. It's only used to manage binary files. The syntax of the seek function in myfile.seek offset, reference point, where myfile is the file object. What is the default value of reference point? You should know this, that the default value is 0. That means the reference point is actually where, with respect to what point should the offset be set. So 0 means the beginning, the 1 means the end, and 2 means the current position in the file. 0, 1, and 2. These are the 3 values it can take. Beginning, end, and current position. So we are going to go with 0 because that is the default value. So 14 is it. 15. Which of the following components are part of a function header in Python? The function name, yes, it's a part. The parameter list, of course, it's a part. The return statement, not really, it's not. And def keyword it is. Like if you want to write a function with 3 parameters, a, b, c, and say return a plus b plus c. This entire part up here is the function header. Alright, so the function header contains the def keyword, the name of the function, the parameter list. These 3 things, remember that. So that leaves us with 1, 3, and 4, which is option number D. 15 is D. 16. Which of the following function headers is correct? Now what I see here is that they're referring to default parameters. And default parameters, you need to know this as a rule, that default parameters always go from right to left. That means you can't have this, the default parameters must start on the right and go to the left till whatever point, but none of the middle ones should be, not a default argument. So this is wrong, this also is wrong, this very much is wrong. This is correct because it's going from right to left, and everything there is the default argument, and on the left it's fine if it's not a default argument. The ones on the right should be continuously being default parameters. Alright, so that leaves us with option D. 17. Which of the following is the correct way to call the function? So we don't, def my function is used to define the function. This is not even like used to call the function or anything, it's used to return value inside the function. And call is not a thing in Python, it is a. 17 is a. You just have to write the name of the function and close it with brackets. Which of the following acts as a default delimiter in a CSV file? So what is a delimiter? It is when you have more than one record inside a record. When you actually store it as a list, you know that when it opens up in a CSV file, you see all the values comma separated, like 1a, let's say 10, 2b, 30. These things are the delimiters. So if the delimiters are commas, by default you can change it. The delimiters are commas, so that leaves us with option C. Given below is one of the ways of opening a file student.csv in write mode. My file equals open student.csv write mode, new line equals to just empty. What is the importance of new line equals empty? So this basically what it tells is that you don't want a character after each new line. So empty string gets appended to all lines. This should be it. 19 should be C. Sorry, it should be D. The end of line character transition is suppressed, meaning there is nothing at the end of each line. The rows are just written one after the other, because by default, if you do not use this, then the list will come like one line separated. If you open the CSV file on Notepad, you might have made this observation. So adding new line equals empty string is important so that it is right in the next line, and it suppresses the EOL transition. That's what it does. 20. Consider the following Python program. Import CSV, fh equals student.csv in read mode, stu reader equals csv.reader fh, and for record in student reader, print record. So this is just basically the csv.reader object. You should know how this works. And if you loop through the reader object, you will actually get all the records. And if it's asking for the records are a list. So it should be B. 20 should be B. Because all the lists are stored in the CSV file, and once you start reading them, they will all just loop through all the lists, and it'll print all of them one by one. 21. Which of the following is not a function / method of the CSV module? So the reader is, because that's how you define the reader object. The writer is, that is also how you define the writer object. Write row is, you define it to write a row in the CSV file. So it should be A. Just read. You don't use that. You create a reader object. So if you open the file whatever.csv, and if you open it in read mode, then you're gonna have to create a reader object, which is this way, csv.readerf, right? And then you just have to loop through this reader object and print all the records one by one. Which of the following is a default extension of a Python file? This you should know by now if you've been doing Python for more than a year. It should be c.py. 23. Which of the following symbols used for Python comments? Again, this is a very fundamental question. You use hashtags to write comments, like this is a comment. And if you want, like, you can write on the same line as a code also. If you write print hello and you can just write hashtag this is a comment. This part of the code will be neglected by the compiler. Alright. Which of the following statements opens a binary file record.binary in write mode and writes the list object lst1 equals 1234 on the binary file? So they're using the with open method and they want to just write it in write mode. So we wanted to open in write mode, so that's only option A and B. Option C and D are immediately neglected because they are different modes. Now in option A and B, we want to dump. And remember the syntax for pickle.dump is L, F, where L is the object you want to dump and F is the file name. So it should be A. 25. Which of the following statements is false in the context of dictionary? The values of the dictionary can be accessed using keys. The keys of the dictionary can be accessed using values. Elements in a dictionary are in the form of key-value pairs. Dictionaries are mutable. Dictionaries are mutable. Let's go from the bottom. This is true. Elements of a dictionary are in the key-value pairs. That is also true. The keys of a dictionary can be accessed using its values. No, the values of a dictionary can be accessed using its keys. So that makes this also true, because remember, dictionary is like A 10, B 20. Like suppose this is a dictionary, then these two people are keys and these two are values. And if you want to access, like suppose let's call this dictionary D1, if you want to access the element with key B, you just have to write D1 B and it will return 20. So obviously it should be that the values can be accessed using the keys. That makes this true, so it should be B, option B, 25. Alright, now this is all that there is in section A. We will discuss section B in the next video.